Welcome to episode 5. This is Going the JC Route. I am your host, JC. I'm here with the boys again. AJ, Brock, and the Birdman. I'm in pain. I think that's suffices it to say I'm in pain. Today we're gonna recap we are going to recap the disaster that was the Red River game. We're going to go around college football a little bit, and then we're going to close with our boys. They made us proud again. And then the important week that is coming up, where we will be in person. We are going to be at the game. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's start with, I'm sorry. I can't, dude. See you later. See you later. I'm out.
Did you really leave? He
was
left.
Was it a little too soon?
He left.
Is it still too soon?
Okay, so we talk. Are we?
No,
where's he at?
I'm just fucking with you.
Here.
I'm not gonna run from it. I can't run from it.
Your
I'm still here.
Hey, Aiden, we're that for the rest of the show.
Okay.
Oh, coward.
Okay.
All
right.
Here for the rest of the show.
So, man, you talking about?
All right, let's talk about Red River.
That couldn't have gone any better for the Longhorns. That was almost outside of the Quinn Ewers interception. That was just a flawless game. And I've got a lot of questions for James. By the way, I will still shake your hand as always. And I do have to say this, Chris, before I get into it. James is a terrific sport. He hung in there with the Texas fans when the whole OU section was practically empty. He was still there, and
how bad was the fans on Texas side?
For the most part, it wasn't that bad. Most of it was typical, Aiden was a normal self, just a little loud.
Okay.
Nothing crazy.
Not like last year. I learned my lesson.
Please do that. Do the same thing for coming up Saturday.
I will say the only thing that was annoying is when they're up 42-0 with 10 minutes left. He's like, I still don't feel good. I'm still nervous. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm like,
I looked at James. I'm not kidding. And I said, James, call me ridiculous, but just based on what last year, I still don't feel good. He goes, you're being ridiculous.
He texted me at halftime, and he was like he said, I'm still don't feel good about this. And I texted him back, so you're telling me there's a chance? Like, the thing is, it was 28-0 at halftime. And, the thing is that unlike last year, whenever they went up 28-7, there is no Caleb Williams. There is no Spencer Rattler. There is no there was no nothing there.
Pulse.
No. Hey, but what? No. Hey, what was the score again?
I'm not doing this. I am not doing this.
To settle. But James, I do have to ask.
Well, I want to go back to real quick. The fans were actually pretty good. A couple of guys that were sitting next to us were good. The dude in front of us offered us Coke. Aiden wasn't paying attention. The dude in front of us was like, hey, do you mind if I do Coke? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And he's like, hey, you want some? And I was like, hey, man, I'm good.
Really? Wait, the guy in the white jersey in front of us?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, for the most part, the fans around us were cool. Normal trash talk stuff. Just, hey, team sucks, school sucks, you're losers, blah blah blah. There was this one guy in the white hat, a couple rows in front of us. Below. He was yelling at me directly.
What was he saying? I didn't even hear it.
He's like, "You're an embarrassment to your parents. Your school sucks. What now? You're atrocious. You're a disgusting human being." And I'm like, I didn't say a word to him the whole game. I'm just looking at him like, what do you want? What do you want me to say?
What are you trying to do?
And I'm like, my whole thing is if you're just gonna trash talk normal, I don't care, right? I can't say anything. We haven't scored this point. But if you start talking at me and talking down on me, I'm like, all right, you want to fight? Come get some. You know what I'm saying? I don't play that game. And if you know me, I'm not trying to find a fight. But if the fight comes to me, I'll fight you.
Of course.
And I'll play dirty. I fight to win.
Of course.
But
You have to.
But I didn't need daddy's money coming ruining my life.
No.
Just because he's got nothing to lose doesn't mean I need to throw all my stuff away.
Right. I told my boy here, I did say if I had his back no matter what.
Boy.
But so
I mean, the guy was typical frat guy, daddy's money,
yeah. Easy.
stuff like that.
For sure. But all in all, that was I thought that, the majority of it fans were cool, except for that guy. So they did say that James was a good sport during this shellacking. They got shellacked. And this was a historic loss.
It also helped. I was very much lubed up the entire day.
He was. We pregame so well. I double fisted a couple of times. But
oh yeah.
So
first thing we did when we walked in, 7 a.m. beer and a corn dog.
Yep. Oh, you still got the picture?
Oh yeah, I still got the picture, dude.
And those daiquiris too, man. A little sweet, but good.
Those daiquiris hit.
They did.
In the first quarter, it looked like.
So hold on, Chris.
I've still got the timestamp.
Hold on.
Okay. This is 7:23 a.m.
Serious, right?
7:23 a.m.
That is a beautiful photo.
Still have a smile on my face.
Yeah, he was happy.
But
James, do you want to know how historic this was?
It's the worst shutout in the history.
So it's the worst shutout in OU history. It is the worst loss to UT and first shutout to UT since 1965. This is 3 consecutive games of the defense allowing 40-plus points. OU has lost 4 last year, 4 consecutive Big 12 games.
Yep.
OU went 311 games of not being shut out. That's gone. Yep. They went 167 games with an offensive touchdown. That's gone. And so then there's the defense. In the past 3 games, that defense has against Kansas State, 111, against TCU, 668, and against University of Texas, 595 yards, totaling 1,774 yards. What is happening? That says it all.
This is what happens when you are rebuilding. I say that.
Rebuilding, and then you also have a new head coach.
The University of Oklahoma should never be in this situation. Coached, by the way. But that said, Brent Venables is building a new foundation that is like when we're talking about building a new foundation, this isn't stripping it down to the studs and rebuilding from there. This is replacing the studs. Yep. We're not building on a new concrete slab. We are breaking that shit apart and making a new concrete slab. It's been made undoubtedly apparent that Brent Venables and his staff have decided, hey, we are going to build this program a certain way, and we're not going to deviate from that plan no matter what happens. Which is fine. Like, I get it. You're trying to build a program from the bottom up. You're trying to weed out the weak. You're trying to get out the wrong mentality. I get that. With that, you're going to have growing pains. You're going to have players that got used to a mentality that aren't going to want to be in there. You're going to be tired. People are going to get hurt. I get it, right? The one thing that rubbed me the wrong way is it felt like the coaching staff went a little too far during the game. There's a difference between setting a precedent for how they want to run the program and damn near insanity refusing to make a change. We talked about it during the game, and it's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It was apparent drive number 1, Davis Bevel is not the guy. Okay, fine. They then roll out the Willis cat, my favorite player this year, weight room Willie Willis. He's the man running. We've got a tight end running Wildcat quarterback. Amazing local product, Arlington Martin. Shout out Braden Willis. But what happened is you got that running Wildcat. You're throwing Davis Bevel out at wide receiver. You would run Wildcat, and they were largely successful with it. They would drive with it, and then as soon as they get to the red zone, they go away from it, and you wonder why the drives stall. You put this not good quarterback that should be playing NAIA a quarterback, and you don't understand why the drives stall.
Can I stop you there, because you mentioned a couple of things that I've actually got on my notes here that I just kind of want to unpack. So where to start? So Davis Bevel, I was listening to a podcast, OU Insider 24/7 Sports. Shout out to Brandon and Parker. You had class with Parker, right?
Parker's a cool dude, yeah.
Really cool guys.
He's a cool customer.
I was yeah, exactly. I was listening to them, and I was like, wow, okay, so they're really cool, and I liked some of their takes. I agree with Parker. Davis Bevel does not need to touch the field again at the University of Oklahoma at all. I agree with you there.
I agree.
And you started off by mentioning the standard. Like, this is far from the standard that is expected at the University of Oklahoma. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm not an OU fan, and I've only been alive for 26 years on this earth, but as long as I've watched football, I have never seen OU in this type of territory to be playing like this. You could make a case for the early 90s, but not like since I've been alive. Not like this.
To be fair, we were put in a kind of a drastic situation after Lincoln left. You had Spencer Rattler out the door regardless. Then Lincoln decides to Caleb Williams decides to follow Lincoln Riley. So you've got 2 5-stars out the door right there. But it all starts before that, because guess who we ran out the building before he left? Chandler Morris, Tanner Mordecai. All that talent is gone. So we literally had to get Dylan Gabriel in 2 days after he was named head coach, after Venables was named head coach, because he was already enrolled at USC or UCLA about to start classes. And then from there, you're like, well, we still need depth. But by the time we got to the portal at that point, in April, there's not much rummaging around. There's not a lot going around. So right. You kind of get a body where you can get a body, but it's like, dude,
right.
He was third string at Pitt.
Yes.
So regardless, we were put in a funny situation that was not fun at all. That said, I feel like now all week the coaches said, hey, we felt like he's the guy that gave us the best chance to win. I don't know what happens at practice, so I can't say. But when you're in the game and it's really apparent, it's become incredibly apparent in the first 3 drives at most, that he's not moving the needle at all. You've got to play your true freshman. You've got to play your walk-on. Now, I did come out after the fact that General Booty had like a allergic reaction right before the game or something. So he was so going into the game, he was prepared, but after that allergic reaction pregame, he wasn't good to go. That's fine. Regardless, if you can see, and every single fan, if you haven't watched a football game in your life, can see that this guy is not the guy, you change something. You have to make an effort to change something and win the game. By leaving Davis Bevel in the game in the capacity that they were the entire game, you purposely chose to lose that game in favor of setting a precedent. Okay.
Sure.
I would in that situation, I would much rather see our true freshman, who is a decently rated recruit that is also a dual threat and he can run. I would much rather see him play those snaps than just the last 5 minutes of the game.
Sure.
What
And
I would
go
say
ahead.
outside of that, what was most frustrating is besides their lack of willingness to make a change, the fact that we continually just threw Davis Bevel of all people out at wide receiver for that Wildcat. I get it. You want to have a quarterback on the field, right? But at the same time, it's like if you're just throwing him out there outside the numbers and you're going to run the ball regardless, they know you're going to run the ball. At least put a wide receiver out there and make them think, hey, they might throw the ball to this guy. Because if you
Right.
throw Davis Bevel out there, that 6'5" Gumby looking dude, like, you know he's not going to do shit. So you are purposefully choosing to play 10 on 11 football.
Right.
That's generally speaking
Look,
not a winning
Can I
formula.
say something?
Go ahead.
And it's funny you mentioned that. So I know that on the Wildcat there are like some plays you can run where you throw it back to your quarterback to throw it. But the fact that you kind of mentioned it, how there were tight ends even taking direct snaps, that proves to anybody that has any basic understanding of football that the coaching staff does not have faith in that quarterback to release the ball. And you mentioned the Wildcat too. What if something is working, you stick to it. Between the 20 and the 20, the Wildcat was working between Gray. Farouk had a couple of really good runs, right?
Yep.
I
Major,
mean,
Willis, all of them. It was working.
It was working. And
but you are limiting your ability when you're playing 10 on 11. And I understand
sure.
there's a couple plays that you can, backwards pass to the quarterback. Regardless, he wasn't throwing shit anyway. He was bouncing bubble screens.
Right.
I can complete a bubble screen. What are we doing?
Right. And it's funny you mentioned that also. There, you were.
But here, there's one more thing on that though. I want to talk on the way they rolled it out.
Can I say this?
The way they rolled out Wildcat. Let me finish and I'll let you go. The way they rolled out the Wildcat, it was clearly in their game plan for the game. They understood that they are limited at quarterback, and they said, "Hey, we're going to run this other thing that worked." If you have that built into your game plan, that means you practice it extensively during the week. Why not throw a wide receiver out there at the numbers instead of the quarterback and say, hey, put a threat out there that they might actually throw to. Throw Marvin Mims out there to where hey, we've actually got to cover this guy or he's going to burn us.
Sure.
Braden Willis played quarterback in high school. He can throw the damn ball. We saw him do it in Nebraska. He can make a throw.
Right.
But they purposely chose to play 10 on 11. All right, go ahead.
So, go ahead, Chris.
I'm going to actually say something. Yeah, finally. Thank you. Finally, after 18 minutes. All right, so the first thing that I want...
I'm going to cut you out now. You're rude. Go away. I don't want to deal with this.
So, it is...
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, 3 things that I want to talk about. The Brent Venables, it's his first year, and not only that, it's his first year coaching, period. And you don't have a great...
Reword that, because that's not true.
What?
You said it's his first year coaching, period. That's not true.
Through first year head coaching, period.
Okay.
He was a defensive coordinator for years. He finally was able to get a head coaching job, and then a lot of the guys that he had left. And then I thought that y'all looked good in the first quarter. Y'all looked good at times during the first quarter, but the fact that you went for it on that 4th down, and you didn't score anything. Yeah, it just says how bad that it looked. And then
I didn't.
You're just not you. Go ahead.
I didn't have a problem with us going on 4th down.
Me neither.
This is one of those games where you come in knowing, hey, our offense is in trouble, our defense is in trouble. And we saw what Texas Tech did to Texas a couple weeks ago. They went 6 of 8 on 4th down. It worked.
Yep.
Then again, they had competent quarterback, but still, it's this is one of those games where you're in trouble on both sides of the ball. You've got to make that decision. Say, hey, we kind of have to coach a little reckless this game if we want a chance at winning. Well, guess what? We went on a bunch of fourth downs. We had that fake punt early on that worked.
Yeah.
We looked like a fun
And-
team, but
Yeah.
for some reason they decided to go away from that over the course of the game.
And it's funny. It was working. And you mentioned Davis Bevel like throwing into the ground and like not able to complete a bubble screen. They only threw for 39 yards and 0 yards in the second half. And Parker, I was listening to him. He said that by the way, I didn't know Matt Kemp was a Sooner.
He is.
That's interesting because and apparently Matt Kemp is a regular at OU football games.
He is.
Parker said he stood next to him, and Parker described very briefly what Matt Kemp said about Bevel. How whenever he threw the ball, the nose of the ball was angled downward, like towards the ground.
Yep.
Which was very strange. And then Brandon told a story about how one of his kids or his kid, whoever, I don't know how many he has, is involved in football some way somehow.
I think it's Caden and Kyler.
Yeah.
I think.
And one of his kids, who is a fourth grader, he got elevated to play with middle schoolers, was at a quarterback camp for Booty and Davis Bevel.
Mm-hmm.
And, because they were trying to show the kids how to like throw the ball, do drills, at the same time get practice with, their own abilities. And his son comes up to him to quote him, from the mouths of babes, "Dad, this is the backup that Oklahoma has." It's it's bad when a fourth grader says that, but it's, gosh, man, I think, and I wanted to ask you this, James, because you mentioned something, not on this podcast, but earlier, going back to it, about the OU strength and conditioning. Well, Brandon said from a very good source that they didn't say who, from the Switzer Center.
Okay.
They were telling Venables, these guys are exhausted. They have not had a break since fall camp. So you can see it. Like they look gassed on both sides of the ball. Like only rushing 3 guys on defense, no sacks in games. They're like it. I could go on here, but what would you say to that?
I think there's a little bit of truth to the fact that the expectation has been placed so highly on them. Not only are the coaching staff working them hard, I think from what I've heard, there's also kind of a self expectation of hey, we've got to be perfect. And if we're not perfect, then we've lost. Well, guess what? They've tried to be perfect for 3 weeks in a row, and it's gotten progressively worse. I heard BV tell the story, I think it was Sunday night or Monday, that he gave the guys the day off Sunday, but there's a bunch of guys in the center, in the training center watching film. And I'm like, okay, so obviously I get it. You want to watch film, you want to get better, right? But at the same time, it's like, dude, at some point you got to make them say, hey, take this time off, get your treatment if you need it, get your recovery. But man, get away from football. That said, I think a bye week would do us really good. I don't want to be Sam Pittman over here, but I think a bye week could do us some good. Just take like days off and get away from football. But I've been given no indication the last 3 weeks that it's going to get better soon. And we lost him. Congratulations.
Goodbye.
He's like out. He's not even in the lobby. We'll get him back in, but we'll keep going here.
Keep talking.
So I was just incredibly disappointed. I was telling Aiden, it's hard. It was hard to describe. Like I wasn't even mad or sad. I was just, honestly, lost a little bit. Like
and kind of betrayed a little bit.
I was definitely feeling betrayed. I'll let him back in.
My
I
inter-
was I was definitely feeling a little betrayed because it felt like the coaching staff to an extent gave up by
Mm-hmm.
their lack of action towards making changes. But I just kind of sat there after the game a little bit watching Texas celebrate, and I'm like, what just happened? I was puzzled more than anything. It's like, was this a fever dream? Did this just happen? Like, there was no adjustments made, or if they were, they weren't noticeable. Um, they didn't try to get their best player on offense involved for 90% of the game.
You're talking about Marvin Mims?
Marvin Mims had one catch for -2 yards.
Yeah.
That's that will
Pretty
not play.
damning stuff.
It's beyond it's frustrating, but I can't say I'm mad or sad. I'm a little frustrated. It's just I don't know what it is. I'm not a football coach. I wish I was, because that way I'd know what's going on inside the program. But all I know is something has to change. If it's time off, if you've got to give the guys a little bit of a mental break, I don't know what it is, but we've got to come together as a team, which from what I hear, the team's a team. The team's bought in, the team's together, like they understand what's going on, like they're good. But obviously something has to change or we're not going to win another game this year.
And I got a question, James. Do you think, because some of Brent Venables still doesn't have all of his guys, obviously.
Well, I mean, obviously you had half a recruiting class.
Sure. So that to be said, half of this, and I'm just using that, is still quote unquote Lincoln Riley's guys. Do you think those guys that have been there under Riley, now under Venables, have actually bought into what Venables is trying to do?
I think the guys that are still there have bought in, but there are still those couple that are along the lines of, hey, we did this one way. I'm not going to work hard. I got away with this before. But the more I reflected on it over the weekend, I was like realizing really how many of the guys that have been around are the older guys, right? I was looking at a list of turnover. There's been so much turnover in the roster that there's actually not a ton of Lincoln's guys around, but more than that, it's a lot of younger guys that are there. So not only have you been in a program, especially those freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores, whatever it may be, not only did they come straight out of high school into a program that didn't have a ton of accountability, they were kind of brought into a culture of, hey, we're Oklahoma, people lay down for us, we win games. When, hey, now that's not the case anymore. We're going to make you work for it. We're going to make you win this game. And if you don't, then we're going to kick your ass. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, realistically, there's been a ton of turnover on this roster because we had a dozen guys go to the league this year. I mean, we had
a lot more.
We had Kennedy Brooks, we had Perrion, Isaiah Thomas, Brian Asamoah. We had a ton of other guys. What?
Burkich,
he's not even on the team right now, but we had a ton of guys go to the league. And then on top of that, we had another 10 to 15 transfer out. So you're talking potentially 20 to 30 players that were starting or contributing in a significant way aren't on the roster anymore. So you had about half the turnover.
Sure.
Then you got to bring in, then they brought in 20-something true freshmen from high school. So not only are you playing a lot of inexperienced guys, now you're playing a lot of inexperienced guys, as long as a lot of younger guys that have been around in a program that's bred failure for a couple of years now.
And sure. And then one of the guys that left, you mentioned Caleb Williams. when we were watching part of the USC Wazoo game, I heard you say, if only you stayed, it would have been competitive. I mean, dude, with the defense that OU has right now, do you honestly think Superman is enough or would have been enough?
I don't know if it'd been enough. It would have been competitive.
It would have been competitive.
Caleb
right?
Williams is talented enough to have kept us in that game alone. He's got.
He would have been able to get it to the guys too.
Yeah, he could have got Marvin Mims the ball. He would have
Mhm.
given the defense something to think about as far as him taking off and
Yep.
running. He would have been able to make plays enough to keep us in the game. I'm not convinced that it would have been enough to win, given the state of our defense. But the thing is, if he's the quarterback, he's able to carry the team enough to sustain drives, to help give us more options in the red zone, to give ourselves a chance on offense. That long interception that I think it was, I don't know if it was Barron or somebody else, beat Marvin Mims on the deep ball that was thrown on the wrong shoulder and late. That doesn't happen. The stupid pop pass, Eric Gray tried to jump shot.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't happen.
I would have scored on that too. On that after that fourth down, going for it on fourth down.
Yeah, stuff like that. None of that happens if you've got Caleb Williams, but I don't want to talk about that too much. It's like he's not around anymore. So
sure. Then where do you go from here? Like, can it get any worse?
I got a question.
I think if you let me answer that question, I'll let you go. Okay. I think if we lose to Kansas at home on homecoming, that's rock bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you don't ever fire your coach after 1 or 2 years, but how much, if this continues, how much longer do you give him? Do you give him another year to try and get it better, or like what? Because
when you say
continue,
when you say continue, do you mean for the rest of this year, following years? What are you talking about?
Rest of this, I'll say rest of this year.
I think what happens this year doesn't have any impact on his job security.
And then, but if it happens again next year, that's whenever it starts to affect him.
If it happens again next year, well, of course, we need to see how this year finishes out. Because if for some miraculous reason we win out, go 9-3, then we're like, this seems like a moot point and a stupid conversation. If we finish the year 3-9 and then end up going 3-9 next year, then we've got to have a serious conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm never one to try and get rid of a coach after, I say 2 years. You have to give him at least 3 or 4 years. But as an Arkansas fan, you win 2 games, you struggle to win 2 games, then you come back and you struggle to win 2 games again. Then it's just like, okay, you gotta go. And it's just,
my whole thing is seeing deliberate growth.
Yep.
I said it before the season with Texas. Texas went 5-7 last year. I think if they go 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, that's measured growth.
I think they're way beyond that right this year. I do.
Yeah, we'll see. That's the thing. They might be ahead of schedule, right? But now we've got to ask the question: was this a fluke, or did they grow that quickly?
Well, you guys sit there and wonder, like, what happens if yours plays the rest of the game against Alabama? What happens if yours plays in Lubbock? Because theoretically speaking, you're looking at a team that, at the very least, could have easily been undefeated. I mean, they have the running back, they have fairly good weapons, they have a good quarterback who I was hesitant on, but he's shown that he can play. And as good as Kansas and TCU and all of them have been, I think Texas. I picked Baylor at the beginning of the year, but as of right now, I think Texas might be the best team in the Big 12.
They're a team you don't want to play down the road, but
if Ewers is healthy, without him, I don't know. But with Ewers, they were a problem to deal with.
Oh yeah, and it shows you what a
I would say
quarterback can do.
I'd say with a healthy Ewers, Texas is probably the favorite to win the Big 12 at this point. That said, they've got challenges of their own coming up.
Oh
Yeah, it's
sure.
not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but I mean, what do you have? You have to play which again,
They have to go to Lawrence, they have to go to Manhattan, they have to go to Stillwater. They still got Baylor. They still got Iowa State this weekend. They still got TCU, which are undefeated. So
yeah,
it's not easy. It's not easy moving forward, but I think if they play like they played this weekend, they've got the ability to run the table.
Oh
But
sure.
kind of go back to the conversation we had is measured progress. It seems like Texas is ahead of schedule this year, but then we have to wait till next year to say, hey, was that a fluke or did they just were they really, really good at growing? Same thing as for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
What I want to see is measured growth. If we end up going 3-9 this year, if we end up going 6-6, whatever it is, all I want to see next year is growth. If we end up 3-9 this year, I'd love to be bowl eligible next year. If we go 6-6 this year, I want to see 8 or 9 wins next year.
James, I do have one thing. Speaking of like measured growth, obviously that starts with the next game, right? Mm-hmm. So if you could, I mean, you could have a laundry list of things to change, but what would you like? Where do you go from here? What would you change against Kansas?
I think the biggest thing is consistency. Dylan Gabriel coming back is the biggest thing. We need to be healthy. That's the one thing that's not helped the last couple of weeks is we haven't been healthy. And I think a bunch of our guys coming back, including Dylan Gabriel, will help that. But I want to see the ability to sustain drives. I get you want to go high tempo. I get that. But I want to see the ability to sustain drives. Even if you're going quick, I want to see 10, 12 play drives. I want to see on defense. I just want to see sound football. There's too many plays. The last 3 weeks, we're seeing an entirely different defense than we saw the first 3 weeks. I want to see sound gaps. I want to see players understanding what their job is. And even if they get beat, that's fine. But if you're in the right position and you know exactly what your job is, then that's fine. You got beat. Like if Jaden Davis plays his job perfectly, but he gets beat by a 6'3" wide receiver because he's 5'9", that's one thing. But if you are blowing your coverage, because if you're playing, one thing that comes to mind was during the TCU game. I think it was Justin Harrington or Justin Broyles. They're playing the high safety they're playing free safety that's dropped down into the box, and they have the zone in the middle of the field. And I think it wasn't Quentin Johnston, it was their other receiver. Ran straight through his zone, and he didn't carry him. He had his eyes in the backfield and played the hook in the middle. That guy has the go route all damn day, but he didn't know his assignment, so we blew that coverage and it was a free touchdown. I just want to see better understanding of the defense and growth as far as proper assignments go. If we end up losing, that's fine. Kansas is a damn good team this year. It's really how we lose. If we lose 25, if we lose 28-24, that's one thing. I think I can take 28-24
the way you did the last 2 weeks.
Right. If we lose 48-17, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Basically any of the scores from the last 2 weeks.
And I think you got to. I mean, dude, we've got 3 straight weeks of 40+ points. That's new territory for OU. I think also to just wrap up on OU, I would go back to rushing 4 guys instead of 3.
Actually, I'll tell you what. It's actually not new territory for OU. You know, the last time we had a defense like this?
Kyler Murray?
Lincoln Riley.
Kyler Murray's year, we had a same stretch where we gave up 48, 49, and another 40s.
But the
But guess
problem,
what?
but the difference was you had on offense.
We had Kyler Murray. Well, so I'll put it this way. Same year, we had the same stretch where we gave up that many points. This year, we went 0-3. You know what our record was Kyler Murray's year?
3-0.
3-0.
Because you had an offense. You had
Yep.
a good quarterback, and you had
We had
very good
we had
weapons around
the
him.
best offense in the country. We also had the worst defense in Division One.
Was that the same year y'all lost to the greatest offense ever?
That
One of the
no,
greatest offenses
that
ever?
was the year we lost to Bama in the Orange Bowl,
Okay.
and I know that because I was
Oh.
at that game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But we
unfortunate.
it should have been closer than it was because we fully got Bama ref, but that's besides the point.
Mm,
And then,
I'm used to that. I'm used to
but
that.
no,
by the
man.
way.
And I guess what I meant by like new territory, I mean, of just the culture of what and the type of football that's going on at the University of Oklahoma right now.
Well, they're
but
just not used to
I
it.
have faith.
Like Oklahoma's not used to it.
Yeah. Well, I have faith
like,
that they're building
I mean-
the right type of culture. Just it's going to take time.
Sure.
But
I'm
yeah,
not-
but,
I'm not
but
panicking
when you're
yet.
not, when you're at Oklahoma and you're at Texas and you're at a school like that, it's just something that you just aren't used to. You're used to 9. You're not used to possibly 3-9. You're used to 9-3, 10-2, maybe 11-1. The odd every once in a while 12-0. You're not used to having to first off get blown out and then having to rethink about what you're doing and then have to go out and find a win somewhere because those just happen. And on top of that, I mean, the Big 12 is just topsy-turvy this year.
Yeah, it is.
Oklahoma has not lost more than 2 games since 2014. We went 8 straight years of 2 losses or less. That's pretty tough.
I mean,
That's tough.
it
Yeah.
is.
And then
It is. But when was the last time they had a losing record? Y'all had a losing record.
that's a good question. Let's see.
90,
And then-
98,
and then
I think.
And then we've been talking about this for 45 minutes.
That's okay.
there was a
This
lot.
is a
Yeah, that's fine.
Hot topic?
Well, it's
it's definitely a serious thing.
It is.
Let's see.
No,
The
it
last
definitely
time
is.
Oklahoma had a losing record was 1998. We went 5-6.
Okay.
For 3, we in 98 we were 5-6. 97 4-8. 96 3-8.
Okay.
And 95 we
Well-
went 5-5.
Okay. So it's been roughly 30 years since they had
30 years.
Last year was 98, so that would be 24 years.
24 years.
Yeah. I'll put it this way, though. Bob Stoops' first year as head coach, we went 7-5. His second year, we won the Natty.
it happened,
Well,
Yeah,
I
with
want,
me,
well, I
just
want, I
not
want, I want
hot.
to show you this
saving to start off.
this pattern. Okay. Barry Switzer's first year, we went 10-0, but the second year is when we won the Natty. Bud Wilkinson's first year, we went 7-2. We didn't win the Natty until his 4th year. Regardless,
It takes time.
it's gonna take a year or two to establish the type of program that your philosophy fits.
That- Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, you just have to sit there and you have to be patient because it doesn't, Rome wasn't built in a day or even a year.
Great saying.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hell no.
What do you mean
So
hell no?
I think from here,
Cultured swine.
we've kind of got to see measured growth every week. and finish off the year as strong as we possibly can. I'd love to be bowl eligible, but I don't feel confident in predicting that quite yet. I think Texas looks great. It's not gonna be easy, but they're looking really solid so far.
It's funny you mentioned Texas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who does Texas play next?
Iowa State.
Iowa State, which I don't need to say anything else about that. We're playing Iowa State. Last time I checked, we were. Hold on, stand by. In 3, 2.
Is it in?
We're 16.5 point favorites. It's in Austin.
To be fair,
okay,
it is very Texas to lose this game.
It is. However, my man Quinn is back, which Quinn, outside of that interception, had a pretty flawless game.
He was very, very good. He made things look easy.
Which everyone was absolutely right to be skeptical of Quinn after having a bye year and not throwing a ball in 2 years.
From high school?
But, yes. But so far, he's showing that he can sling it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Quinn. And then Bijan looked great. He had 130 yards on the ground, which was great. All in all, I mean, James knows this. I had a blast. I love the game. And
then also not to mention, because I heard them talking about it on one of the shows earlier today. Not just Bijan, but Roschon Johnson as well.
Roschon looked good too. And
Keelan looked good too. Why don't you throw him in there? Why don't you throw Jatavian in there? Throw Xavier Worthy in there.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned Jatavian last week to me. You said you put it so simply. Just throw it to Jatavian, who will just jump over everybody. In that, you said that's basically what happened when he got it in the end zone twice. So, no, I mean it was simple, but no, that it's apples to oranges right now.
Also known as Nostradamus.
Anytime you put up 6'5" against 5'10", 5'11", that's pretty simple math.
It is. I did. No, it was great. I will say this. I do agree. As fun of a time as I was having, I will agree with James that it was not, obviously, for many reasons, it was not your standard Red River shootout. But the reason being is because you didn't have the momentum going back and forth between one section of the stadium and the other. From a whistle to whistle, it was all on the Texas side, of course.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that was missing. But
as is life, we move on, we move forward. It happens.
I will say this. I do remember a phone call I got from you, James. I was driving and I was turning onto my street when we were talking college football before the season, and you said, and I quote, "Man, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. OU's going to be good."
Yeah.
And for the first 3 weeks, sure.
Yeah.
But man, no, and then James did make a comment. I'm curious to know if he's calling his shot. Because he said 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and then last year that this was the year that Texas was going to win. James said that the Golden Hat is currently vacationing down in Austin. It's on a vacation.
I was also on a lot of booze when I said that.
Yeah. Are you calling it right now? Is the vacation going to end next year?
I don't know
yet. I have to take this off?
We'll see what happens.
Man, I was actually thinking about that. We should
I'm not ready to call the shot.
We should make this the hat.
No.
Between the two of us.
No.
But no, I mean, I was thoroughly pleased with Texas's performance. That's the Texas I know and that I've been preparing for. And I think what James said earlier, I think Texas right now is ahead of schedule. So we'll see.
They are, but that's what I'm saying.
But here's the other thing. They lose a lot of talent next year. Will they regress? I'm interested to see that.
We'll see. We'll
have to see. Coming in. I think next year they could be great again. They could be really good again next year because Quinn has another year. Jatavian has another year. Bijan will be gone, but Worthy has another year. They've got the two young offensive linemen that will have a year of experience. Demo will be gone. The defense will probably regress because they're losing a lot on the back seven. They're also losing Keandre Coburn. They've got a lot of talent on defense, but it's going to be really young next year. So that's why I think we've got to wait and see what happens, because as it appears right now, it looks like Texas is ahead of schedule, which is awesome for them. But then we've got to see, hey, are they able to maintain that standard next year, or are they going to regress? We can only wait till next year to see that.
Right. All in all, though, it's looking good, and it just shows you what a team can do when you have a competent quarterback in the backfield. I do.
Yeah,
thanks. I meant to tell you this also, because I know you didn't listen to him. Brandon and Parker. Brandon was saying when he was up in the booth with the reporters.
Are we recapping somebody else's podcast?
It's a story that he said about Davis Bevell. He was saying how James, you remember that fourth down play where Bevell rolled out to the side and he was like gonna like pump fake it not once but twice, and like it was a 4th and 2. You remember the play I'm talking about? And then he lost it. Okay, so the Texas defense literally was like challenging him to run, and then Bevell was like trying to pump fake. He was apparently the Texas reporters were like were even just going like shouting at Bevell. They were like, run. It goes back to the IQ thing. But I have to ask James, what's his name? There's a recruit for OU that is on the fence about leaving in a week or two. What's his name? His last name starts with an E. Azik or something like that?
You talk about Vosick?
Vosick. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk that he's talking about decommit. All of
that talk is outside noise.
So does OU lose? Is there going to be a mass exodus of potential recruits from this, or do you think it's going to, if any, it's going to be very minuscule?
I think it's going to be minimal. The thing about Vosick is he's out of Westlake, right? 15 minutes down the street from Austin. His parents are Texas X's. Like, he's got a lot of ties to Austin. It's all noise from the outside. He hasn't told anybody anything about decommitting. He's been responsive with the OU coaching staff. He's been engaged. All of the noise about him decommitting is noise from the outside.
Just noise. Okay.
I mean, he still stays. I mean, from what I've heard, he still stays in contact with Texas, Oregon, a couple other places. But it wouldn't surprise me if he decommits because he's got those connections to Austin or whatever it is, and they are negative recruiting the hell out of Oklahoma right now. So it wouldn't surprise me if he decommits, but I don't expect to see mass exodus out of the recruiting.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you on that. So, but man.
Well, now we can put this to bed. It happened. We can move on. I don't need to drink anymore for a while.
Yeah,
but
virtual.
Let's switch gears. Let's go around college football because there were several other fascinating games this weekend.
Chris,
let's start with Arkansas though, and how sad you are.
And that wasn't fascinating. And although I do not drink, I probably should have. Although I was working during that game, but I mean,
Will Rogers for Heisman?
No. First off, I mean he was begging for Will Rogers was begging to be picked off. He threw the ball straight to a defender at least 4 times. And then the other thing is that you had KJ Jefferson out, so they tried to go with splitting 2 running backs quarterbacks between Malik Hornsby and I forgot who the other was it Fortune. And one thing I've learned is that it rarely works when you split time between 2 quarterbacks, and it didn't work in that game. The other thing, Will Rogers had way too much time in that pocket. I mean, they were rushing 3, and he had enough time to sit back there and basically take a nap and create a meal before he had a chance to throw. But like I said, even though they only rushed 3 the entire time, there were 4 chances to pick him off, and they didn't. And I mean, the defense isn't good. The offense. I figured with this game, if the defense was going to not be great, because it hasn't been great really, it hasn't been great for like the last 3 weeks. It hasn't been good at all for the last 3 weeks. But in order for them to have been able to play with Mississippi State and had a chance to win, that offense was going to have to move, and they were going to have to score points. That offense did not do a thing. It was bland, and like, I'm close to being done with Kendall Brown.
How much of
like
it?
So
how much of it?
So are you in the boat with everybody else that's coming for Kendall Briles and Barry Odom?
Not quite Barry Odom, because he's had, I'm irritated at him. I don't know why he's rushing 3 when he could have rushed a few more guys to try and force Will Rogers to make some decisions. But with Kendall Briles, yeah, I'm pretty much to the point where I'm done with him, because it's just like why are you you're running the same offense? Like I don't know how many times I was watching that game and I would see him do like a little bubble screen that went nowhere, or like run the ball up the middle and get nowhere. It's like watching the Cowboys under Jason Garrett.
No.
Run on
throw the
first
ball
down.
sometimes. I think we have a couple of decent receivers, which we never use. On top of that, he does this thing where he rotates the running backs. Like it's one drive, one running back. Then the next drive, the other running back. Like, why don't you switch them in and out on different plays? And then I don't know. I'm almost done. I'm almost done with him.
So,
like,
I have a question, Chris.
I'm about this close to being done with him.
So how much of, I asked James about Venables. How much of this is hurting Sam Pittman's stock, would you say?
I think it's hurt. I mean, people aren't going to be looking at him like they used to. I still think he's a good person and a good coach. But there is a part of me that wonders, like, are we regressing? I mean, you sit back and you think, we should have beaten A&M. We should have, we had a chance to beat Bama. But then you go back even further. We almost lost to Missouri State.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I don't think Cincinnati and South Carolina are as good as, aren't that good. Maybe I'm wrong. I should probably look at their records or whatever. But are we regressing? Are we going back to I don't think we're going to be there with Morris. But I mean, you almost lose to Missouri State, and then you lose the way you did to Mississippi State. It's just not. It's not a recipe. Like Mississippi State's a good team, but they've never been known for their defense.
So
a Mike Leach team has never been known for its defense.
Yeah, which is a pretty profound fact.
Who is the DC at Mississippi State now?
And all that to be said, I do.
And now,
So do you think that people are not looking at Pittman as like the Messiah as much as they were? If you're an Arkansas fan,
I think the honeymoon is starting to be over. But like I said, it's not like you're Chad Morris barely winning 4 games in 2 years, and those 4 games are against just random teams from like the Division II or whatever.
The DC
he's
is
getting
Zach
win.
Arnett. Previously is San Diego State. Who?
San Diego State. Oh, okay. Anyway, but we're winning games. We hit. We said at the beginning. I said it. We all said it at the beginning of the year. This is going to be a tough stretch for Arkansas, and it has been.
James called it.
As long as we're, right after this game next coming up against BYU, you got the bye week, and then I need to look at the schedule, but it gets fairly easier from there, which are games you should win. If you lose those games, then you start to get to the point where maybe Sam Pittman isn't the guy. But it's far better where we're at now than where we used to be. And the other thing is that when we fired Morris, nobody was really wanting to come. Nobody was lining up to come to Arkansas.
Sure, I will say this.
I'm ready to talk about basketball, though.
Sure, I bet you are. Is this? I mean, this defense for Arkansas, I would kind of put in the same category right now as the Oklahoma defense. It's not good.
The thing with the Arkansas defense is we lost a couple guys in the secondary to transfers. We lost a couple guys to the draft. The front 7, front 8 to me isn't a problem. It's the secondary, and we lost a couple. Like you talk about losing Catalan, then you talk about there's a couple guys that we lost. Boucher, who's at LSU, and then there's another DB that we lost to LSU as well. So like those guys that left, now all of a sudden we got to put in other guys because Catalan's injured, and they got to learn their stuff, and they're just not like I get you got to learn some stuff, but like learn to tackle. Like stop. I don't know. Like it's like the receivers are like have like lube or something, and they just keep slipping out of their hands, or they don't even wrap. They just like do this, going for a hug, and then they just slip out. Like they need to learn to tackle. But
so
it's going to be Saturday's going to be tough as well. I mean, we got BYU coming off of we just came off of a ass whooping. I don't think BYU is as good as it's been in the past, or as that good this year, but it's in Provo, and I think we need KJ. If we don't have KJ, it's going to be a long game.
Sure. So, all that to be said, do we want to move on or still talk about him, James?
I think that's enough. I will take my flowers if they lose to BYU, because I think I'll deserve that since I called it 3 weeks ago.
You did.
But
I'm ready to talk about Arkansas in March, though. Maybe not.
Okay, we could do that.
Okay.
But let's talk. Chris, I know you wanted to talk USC. What about it?
I found in years past, and granted it was a Washington State team led by Mike Leach, who again did not have great defenses, and I don't think anybody I don't think any team in the Pac-12 is really known for their defense. But watching that game, Washington State was really impressive on their defense. I mean, they made Caleb Williams' life made it hard, and it was harder for them to score. And there were a couple of questionable calls in that game that I think they gave to USC that allowed them to have the upper advantage. But I was you said that Washington State was good. I didn't know how good they are, but like after watching that game, they are legit in the Pac-12.
Cam Ward is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, a ton of fun to watch.
I mean, they were both fun. Him and watching him and Caleb Williams, which I know, whatever, but like they were both fun to watch, and it was a fun game that USC ended up winning. But the Pac-12, and we've said this the past several weeks, is a lot better than it has been.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
That's all I have. That's all I said. The Washington State defense to me was good. That's what caught my eye.
I love seeing the Lincoln Riley trader shirts at Red River this past weekend. Speaking of USC,
Now,
so now
we talk about
Oh.
the play calling at the end of the Bama game.
I think that's the only thing really to talk about during that
I-
game. Leave it to Jimbo Fisher and that coaching staff to call up one of the worst play calls that you could do in that situation. Me personally, I would have
Besides-
just done the simple
Besides throwing
thing
a slant in the end, besides throwing a slant at the 1 yard line.
That's the worst. The potential pick play. But I would have kept it simple and just run it with A-chain up the middle.
I would have either done that or I would have like if you're going to throw it to the sideline like he did, I feel like that's like a last ditch effort to try and score. Like that's not your only thing that you do. Like you try and actually look to see if somebody's open in the end zone somewhere, and then you throw it to the back of the end zone. If nobody's there, then you throw it over to the pylon to see if he can't try to catch it, or you try to run for it. But to take that snap and immediately throw it to a receiver on the pylon, it just like even Johnny Manziel was saying that was a bad call, and I agree with him. It was a bad call.
Johnny Manziel doesn't have a whole lot of good moments, but he is right about that.
He's got some good moments in football.
So I'm actually going to disagree here.
Oh,
oddly enough,
you like the
This
play call?
I won't say that I like the play call. I don't think it was a bad play call. It was poorly executed.
That's fair.
That's
But
fair.
the
ball
thing is,
was
like,
out late as hell. If the ball comes out a second earlier and it's on time, he probably scores that touchdown. If that ball arrives as he's coming out of his break, it's probably a touchdown. But you've got that ball coming out as he's already run out of the end zone on his comeback. He's not going to score regardless. He's not going to score regardless.
I had to. Yeah. But I had to go back and rewatch it. But that's a thing you do, kind of last ditch effort. You don't see anything else open. You just see if he can't make a catch over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. But no, I think if Bryce Young plays that game, I think we've got a different.
If Bryce Young plays, they're undefeated. No, they're still undefeated. But like, if he's not there the next couple of weeks, I bet they lose a game.
Yeah,
I would
too.
Think, my big thing was in this game,
and we'll get to their next game.
My big thing in this game was it looked like a team that has a ton of talent, and their talented players made plays. You had
Texas A&M.
No,
I'm talking
about Bama.
Oh.
You had Jermaine Burton making a couple big catches. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs making some massive runs. You had Will Anderson making a couple plays, stuff like that. But in between those big plays, you've got a team that looks mediocre.
Well, I think what happened, and this may just me being just speaking out of my ass, but I kind of think that Bryce Young injury against Arkansas last week forced them to be like, okay, we got to play better. Because as soon as he went out, they looked vulnerable, and at times this year against Texas, against other teams, they've looked beatable. And if that's if it's the case in your eyes that they looked like their talent and their will to win they made plays, I think a lot of it is okay. Well, Bryce Young is out. We got to help this. What's his name? Milner out.
Milroe.
Got to help Milroe out. I'm probably dead wrong.
So, do you think? I wouldn't say that. Do you think I will say this: if Bryce Young's out this week versus Tennessee, Oh boy, I think Rocky Top prevails. What is the
I
line
think
right now? I'm curious.
we can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I
Let's
think we
see.
were going to
Schedule.
get to that, but we can go ahead and talk about it. I don't want to just write it off as, hey, if Bryce Young's not playing, Tennessee will win, because
Yeah.
Tennessee's pass defense is atrocious. Let's see.
Wow.
Currently the line is
Minus 7.5 for Alabama, and Rocky Top only has a 30% chance to win the game. Wow. Is that all on? In your opinion, James? I think that's more on the Tennessee pass defense than Bryce Young, because we don't know if he's playing or not playing. But I think it both.
I think Bama's earned a little bit of brand equity there. It's like, hey, they've been good for so long. They're the higher ranked team. That's why they're the favorite.
Sure.
Kind of like Oklahoma being favored against Kansas.
I don't know if that's the whole thing. Like, I'm still not sure what the hell's going on there. Like,
yeah,
like the only thing that we'll go back to the Bama game, but the only thing that I don't understand how Oklahoma is favored by 9. The only thing, if they're ever going to be favored, they'd only be favored by like a point, like a half a point. And like the only reason they'd even be close to being favored is because maybe Gabriel is back and it's in Oklahoma. But like other than that, I don't understand why at the moment Vegas has a 9-point, Oklahoma has a 9-point favorite. And what do they say? They gave them like a 70% chance to win that game.
No idea.
Yeah, it's a 70% chance to win.
Anyway, that
the last 3 weeks, Oklahoma showed no indication of reasonability that they would win that game.
No.
Meanwhile, Kansas has looked like maybe the second best team in the Big 12, arguably.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that case.
It's somewhere between them, TCU, Texas, and Oklahoma State. It's one of those teams. That's the top 4, not necessarily in order, but that's the top 4. One of them is the best. So I have no idea why Oklahoma's favored. I'm sure it has somewhere to do between Dylan Gabriel coming back and Jalen Daniels being out. Even
maybe
then,
it's just the name.
It has to be
the name brand.
It has to be some kind of brand equity there.
Like you have a name brand with Oklahoma, who has been, this has been the first time in about 25 years that they've been bad, and then a Kansas team who hasn't been good in about 15 years. So I feel like maybe it's a case like they don't believe what's going on in Oklahoma and they don't believe what's happening in Kansas.
Sure. I did see this earlier today, gentlemen, that Jalen Daniels is very doubtful for this weekend.
Have you not been paying attention to anything I've said this entire time?
Yeah, he literally said that. He said.
It was spotty on my end. My apologies.
Yeah, he's just not listening.
Also, we were just kind of.
No.
I was just kind of going. We're not talking about the Kansas OU game. I was just going into that because of. We're talking
that's
about.
Fine. We can finish up with it. Like, I think I said it already.
Sorry.
If we lose to Kansas,
I went on a tangerine.
That's I think if OU loses to Kansas this weekend, that's kind of rock bottom. Like, you've got to go up from there. Mm-hmm. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
But like you said, it's the way you lose. But we're going back to Bama because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that game this weekend is probably the most interesting game on the schedule. Outside of Oklahoma State, TCU, for my own sick reasons.
There's a lot. There's besides Bama, Tennessee, there's a lot of intriguing games this weekend, ranked or unranked.
But I definitely think that game is the most fun game on the schedule this weekend. Tennessee's offense is legit, and Bama's defense is good, but they haven't been up to the standard we expected of them this year. And vice versa. Bama's offense with Bryce Young is incredible, and Tennessee's pass defense is makes me nervous, whether I'm watching it or not. So it's going to come down to Bryce Young's health. I think he'll be back this week, which will make that game a lot more fun because I'm expecting a lot of points in it. But
I think regardless of if he's healthy or not, there's still going to be a lot of points. But to me, he is the difference maker in that game.
Oh yeah.
I think I feel like that's obvious.
I think it's gonna be a lot of fun regardless. We just got to see what happens. I'd love to watch that game. I know we're gonna be on a flight. That should just be about landing when it starts.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
But I think that's definitely the most fun game this weekend. We'll be able to hang out and find somewhere to watch the games that night.
Sure.
But
Easy.
I think that's a good place to leave it. We can spend a lot more time talking college football next week, but I think it's worth talking about moving forward since we're already 75 minutes in. Goodness gracious.
Let's segue into something that we're all happy about.
The boys.
Who'd have thunk? The only undefeated things.
Them boys
the NFL
made us happy.
Are the
again.
Philadelphia Birds and Cooper Rush. Who'd have thunk it? Unbelievable.
Who also would have thought that the NFC East is the best division in football right now?
Excuse me, the NFC Beast. Say it correctly.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you thought the NFC Beast was going to be the best division in football, because I didn't.
Now, hear me out. Hear me out. The AFC East is also really good.
Of course.
Was that
Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, and Jets?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think when you talk, I feel like the only thing that Washington is missing is their quarterback. And
Ron Rivera even said that's what's missing.
But he doesn't regret trading for Carson Wentz.
He says that's what's missing, but he doesn't regret it. How does that make any sense? You literally just said, Bud, that
I feel like he's backtracking. He's backtracking.
He is. He's backtracking. What else can he say?
But
what can he say?
The Cowboys defense is legit.
Elite.
Yeah.
Very elite.
I'm not quite ready to say I was wrong yet.
I'm not either.
Now, James, if I may, are you still not ready to say that the defense was going to regress? Because right now it's looking like that defense has improved.
I think I don't want to say it's improved. I want to say the way it's gaining its success has changed to a more sustainable defense.
I could see that.
Last year's Cowboys defense relied on turnovers. We led the league in turnovers. Awesome. Yep. That's a lot of fun to watch. This year, what's getting it done is our front seven and our pass rush. Our linebackers look a lot better, healthier, quicker, whatever it is. Leighton Vander Esch remembered how to run.
He looks good this year.
Then we are easily 6 deep on the defensive line.
Oh yeah. Name the last time. I'm trying to think of the last time the Cowboys had, at least in my lifetime, a very, I guess, threatening front seven like this. I can't think of a time. Arguably
it would be in the 90s, last time they're in the Super Bowl.
So yeah, this is the best defense that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, it's phenomenal. I think part of it also is we gotta. If you're a Rams fan, you got to worry about Matthew Stafford, but
then again, they had 60% turnover on their offensive line.
That's
true. They need an overhaul on offensive line.
They do. But I think as a whole though, no, that defense wasn't so much what the offense did, and by the offense I mean Tony Pollard, but the way that the game was decided,
when you put the team out in front 9 points in a blink of an eye on defense.
What won the game was the defense.
But that's been the case since Cooper Rush came into the game.
No. You mean Cooper Clutch? No.
Shut up. Here's the thing. If this defense isn't as good as it's been, Cooper Rush would probably lose every game that he's played so far. Besides the game last year, he would have been 1-4 right now.
Any quarterback would.
Any quarterback? I don't think so. Not any quarterback
on our roster.
Uh,
I doubt Will Greer would have won these games.
but like with the defense as it is, like Cooper Rush has been doing a fantastic job at what he's been able to do. But like,
He's done just
if
enough
it's not
to make us ultra competitive. If we get
Mhm.
anything less, we probably lose these games.
Yep. And that goes to that, but I know last week you were talking about quarterback controversy, and as of right now, he has not done anything to me that resembles him even being close to being a controversy.
I think as far as the quarterback situation goes, I think my sentiments stand. Dak needs to come back. I wouldn't do it this week.
And he will. I agree. Like
Yeah, he won't come back this week.
So you have a super hostile environment where they probably don't mind hurting you again, and a defense that is very good.
If I had to pick,
and then the next week after that, you play
the Lions,
the worst defense in the entire NFL. That is, to me, is the perfect weekend to come back. If he comes back on Sunday, it's just you risk him possibly re-aggravating an injury, or
he's gonna high five another helmet. My whole argument was Dak needs to come back, but he needs to come back in a situation that's conducive for success.
Yeah.
If you bring him back this week, you're bringing him back in a hostile road environment, rusty against I would argue is the best defensive line in.
And on top of that, based off of what happened the last time he was out there, I would imagine that his not his motivation, but like his, he's not the most upbeat probably whenever it comes to thinking about being on that field.
I don't know
what
that,
the word is,
but I definitely think the Lions are a better situation.
Confidence. I meant confidence.
That makes sense. Because that's the thing, if he comes out against the Eagles and gets sacked 3 times in the first 2 drives, that's going to wreck his confidence. But if you bring him back against the Lions, now I'm not saying that couldn't still happen. He could still get sacked 3 times against the Lions and hurt. But when you're playing against the worst defense in the league, you're setting yourself up for more success. And if he can come back and kill it and gain a bunch of confidence right away, then that would set us up better for the rest of the season. I would rather us lose this game against the Eagles and set ourselves up for more success long term than try to win the game but get hurt, have him hurt again, or hurt his confidence, or have us lose this game and not know where we're going.
If we lose this game, that'll be a fun walk out of the stadium.
I feel like if the Eagles win, we would actually be better off because they'll actually be happy.
Yeah, but they'll be talking a lot of.
I think either way we're screwed. Walking out of that stadium.
Well, if we lose, we're screwed because you're gonna be doing a lot of talking.
I plan on wearing a tarp, or what is it? A poncho.
Just bring the trash bags.
Bring them, and they're gonna be blue. So I plan on wearing Cowboys gear everywhere we go from the instant we get off the plane in Philadelphia.
We're going to get turned away from our hotel. You know that, right?
We're going to be homeless?
They're not going to let us stay in this hotel.
We're going to be homeless, James? That's all right. We'll pitch a tent outside the stadium. I mean, what's a tent at Walmart and a couple of air mattresses if we get homeless? What do you think, though? What do you think, though, James? I'm kind of looking at kind of the over-under for this. The over-under is 42.5. I'm thinking under. If I had to, the way both defenses are.
Yeah.
What are you asking about? What's the question?
What would you pick, over or under the Cowboys Eagles? It's 42.5, but the way both defenses are playing at this present moment, I'm thinking under.
I'd go under.
What are we saying? So over unders 42.5 with Eagles -5. That's actually come down because it started Eagles -7. So people are putting money on the
-5 right now.
Cowboys.
Yeah, it's -5 right now.
So what's the implied score? The implied score is that 22-17 ish?
Oh, that's
Yes, that's
no,
correct.
not quite. Not quite. It's about 24-19, give or take. Because Cowboys
I'd say under.
Rams was 22-10. I'd probably bet the under, but I bet it's close.
Oh, for sure.
It's gonna be close.
Part of me also,
like, to me,
I would bet the under and Cowboys +5.
For sure. Part of me also thinks, the flip side of it, that Jalen Hurts is going to just come out, your boy Jalen Hurts is going to come out swinging.
And see, I think that's the one difference to this game is you've got two awesome defenses, but the one thing you've shown so far is you've got the Eagles offense is a competent offense. Jalen Hurts looks like he's taking that next step to being an above average quarterback to a good quarterback. I don't want to call him elite yet, but he's taking that step to being a better quarterback. And now he's actually got offensive weapons. You've got A.J. Brown that you can add to Devontae Smith. Miles Sanders is
Sanders.
He's whatever.
Boston Scott's okay.
But the thing is, you've got a well-rounded offense now. That's the one thing you don't know about the Cowboys' offense yet is it well-rounded? Yes, you've got CD. He's been inconsistent at best. You just got Michael Gallup back for the second week. You've got Zeke and Tony Pollard, which they've actually been a pretty good tandem so far this year. But you can't say they've been consistent yet, especially with Cooper Rush at quarterback.
The thing is that, like, he is an above average quarterback, and the thing is that if you put weapons around him that are good, that above average quarterback gets higher. Like, you look at a guy like the quarterback at San Francisco. Why am I going blank? Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, his offense, he's got so many weapons around him. Like, a lot of people think he's an above average quarterback.
Does he?
I would agree with Chris.
Weapons?
Yeah, he does.
He's got Debo. Other than Debo Samuel, realistically, who they've got?
George Kittle, Juszczyk.
Ayuk. What's the running back? And even though he's injured,
Elijah Mitchell.
I would agree with George Kittle, but I'm not sure Brandon Ayuk moves the needle a lot. You're gonna name a fullback? What the hell are you doing?
Juszczyk is
fantastic.
He's good, but he's a fullback.
No, but they use him.
He's doing.
He's a fullback. He's a fullback that is disguised as a tight end. The guy is good.
Like, they don't use him as like your average fullback, was just to put your arm in the ground and go block, and every once in a while get your hand or get a hand up. What do you get? Like 2 or 3 catches the other game?
Oh yeah, and he gets in the end zone. Like, they throw to him. What other fullback in the league do you throw to? Like,
that's a great question. I don't know.
So no, I mean,
I think that he has good weapons around him.
I would agree with that, and arguably another great defense.
And not to mention, that defense is I like that defense, but not to mention Debo Samuel is like a Swiss Army knife, kind of like.
So I'm looking at the season stats for the 49ers. Kyle Juszczyk has 3 rushes for 10 yards total. He's got 4 receptions for 86 yards and no touchdown. Oh, wait. What is it? And no touchdowns. So he's got one touchdown. He's got 1 touchdown on the year. And no receiving touchdowns. Yeah, you can get the hell out of here with that take.
Hold on.
Kiss my ass.
No. Let's go. Where is this?
He has under 100 yards for the year and 1 touchdown.
Let's see.
You're going to look up the stats? You're just going to see the same shit I just told you.
I'm pulling up the whole
stubborn
stats
piece
for
of
the
shit. Like,
No, I'm pulling up the whole stats for the 49ers.
He's fifth on the team in receiving, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh on the team in rushing.
I'm still outing him as a because he's done some good. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of stats, but he like whenever you give him the ball, he does stuff with it.
Not for a total of 100 yards a year on the year through 5 games.
I got to go with Chris on this one. They still do things with him,
still-
and they
I
still
still
got
like that
like
Yeah,
Ayuk
do
still-
things. They touch him. Okay, what is he gonna do? He touches himself.
And they still got Juwan Jennings. Like he's done. I mean, Juwan Jennings isn't terrible.
10 receptions for 138, no touchdowns.
That which I told Chris this earlier this or was it last week? I thought Chris was like incorrect in picking the 49ers to be the NFC team to be the representative in the Super Bowl, but I would agree with him at this point.
I'll die on the hill. I don't care.
I'll die.
San Francisco's skill positions are not good this year. I'll die on that hill.
And that's
outside
that's
of
just
Debo.
the offense.
Outside of Debo, the defense. I'll give you the defense.
Just
They've
go.
got a great defense. Their offense, no, I'm not gonna have it.
You're not. You're done.
No.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I still
No.
think that they are good enough to go pretty deep in the playoffs.
I don't know that. I don't even know if they'll get in at this point.
They're
Who's
first.
the top? Who's the top 7 teams in the NFC right now?
Let me see.
Well, no. Don't look at the standings. Who would you name as your best 7 teams in the NFC at this point?
Right now, the
NFC.
the Cowboys, the Eagles. I'm gonna throw the Giants in there. Basically the NFC East, excluding the Commanders. I'm gonna throw the 49ers in there. Then, so what is that? 4. Then
Do you put Tampa?
you
No,
can put.
I'm not
I
doing
mean,
that.
Minnesota's
I'm doing that.
4-1. So you could put them in there. I'm not putting anybody from the NFC South in there. I'm just not.
So let's put it this way: if the playoffs were going to start today, your playoffs are Eagles 1, Vikings 2, Bucks 3, Niners 4, Cowboys 5, Giants 6, Packers 7.
based
Okay.
on the teams I told you, or that's what you pulled up.
As of the current standings, that's what the playoffs would be.
Let's see. So, according to this, you said it right. Eagles 1, Vikings 2, Bucks 3,
Yeah. Yes.
Niners 4.
I know
Yeah.
I fucking said it right. Jesus Christ.
I'm making sure. I
What
heard it
has
right.
this turned into? A Question Me podcast? Holy shit.
No, I'm making sure I got it right. So, I mean,
Um.
them sitting at the 4th seed, I mean, sure.
Yeah, by virtue of that division being awful.
I think the
That's not
NFC
their
is just
fault.
not.
I think it's the
I-
NFC West
no,
this
it's not.
year.
And then, I think the NFC as a whole isn't as. I mean, it's
That
not as
division-
competitive as it's been.
That division is the definition of mid. 3-2, 2-3,
Mhm.
2-3,
Yep.
2-3. Holy shit.
It's not as
Yeah.
bad as the division that the Titans are in.
Well, they're the worst division in the AFC.
Let's see, the AFC
But-
South, 3-2,
AFC is
2-2. Well, 2-2-1, 2-3, 1-3.
I still think that the NFC is not as deep as it's been in the past. Like who is?
I mean, I think it still could be, but it's still a little early to tell.
Okay, that's fair, but
We're We're not even a third into the season yet.
No.
It is still trying to shape up.
I think this is a conversation we need to revisit in 3 or 4 weeks when we get halfway through the season, and we're starting to get an idea of playoffs, a better idea of it, and just so we don't go too far astray from our conversation, let's wrap it up with game picks. What do you guys say happens in the game? Cowboys Eagles.
It'll be a tie. Nah.
Fuck.
No.
Jesus Christ. The city of Philadelphia might actually burn down.
It'll be a tie. Nah, Oh, why do you ask me this question?
I'm going Eagles to win, Cowboys to cover.
Because I refuse to give the city of Philadelphia any satisfaction, I'm going to put faith in the boys to come up big again on the road. Eagles are handed their first loss this Sunday.
Eagles lose, Cowboys go to number 1 in the NFC East. I like the sound of it. I don't necessarily agree.
I think the difference is the Eagles, to me, have a better offense than we do, and they look like they got more of an identity than we do right now, because we got a lot of guys that came back healthy or came back from injury and stuff, and playing with a backup that has been doing well but not playing. He hasn't really shown a game that he can carry a team, and you're playing a great defense. So I think that the Eagles do enough to get that one. I do.
Did the Cowboys cover, or the Eagles winning pretty handily?
No, I don't think they win handily. I think they. What's the spread?
-5.
-5.
5 is the spread.
Oh God. Oh shoot.
I'm seeing.
I don't think that they'll win by more than a touchdown or 2 touchdowns.
I'm seeing like a 21.
I don't know if it's 5.
Game.
I don't know if it's. I could see that too, but like, I don't think they'll lose by a I don't think they'll lose by 2 touchdowns, but I think more than 5 might be where it's at. Like like they score.
So Eagles cover. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So we've got a Cowboys win outright. I've got Eagles win, Cowboys cover, and then we've got an Eagles win outright and cover. So we've got this. We've got the spectrum. We'll see what happens. We'll be at the game, so we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna have a few cheesesteaks this weekend, and
oh yeah,
we're gonna enjoy the city of Philadelphia a little bit. We'll have a little bit of time for it. We fly in like
no fights.
We
no fights.
So we're flying in. We should land about 3:00. Then we're flying out pretty late Monday night. So we'll have pretty much all day. We'll have Saturday afternoon. We're gonna have pretty much all day Sunday to hang out in Philly, and then most of Monday as well. So
yeah, we'll find stuff to do. Go see the Rocky Balboa statue.
Run up the steps. Do that corny shit. But we'll see what happens. We'll report back next week. Now, before we head out, Chris, I heard you had something to say. Something got off your chest. Let it rip, buddy.
What is that face? What is that face?
Let it rip, buddy.
There's 2 of them. The first one is
just let him rip.
So you're the Atlanta Falcons. You're coming back to win the game, and then all of a sudden, one of your was a defensive tackle, defensive end. He goes out and he sacks Tom Brady, and then they get a flag thrown whenever he sacked him, and apparently they said that he got thrown to the ground, which I didn't see. And then you fast forward to Monday night, and then Chris Jones gets a night. He beats. I think he beat the right tackle. He strip sacks the quarterback. He takes him down. and then as he's taking him down, he tries to stop himself from putting his weight on him, and he still gets the flag thrown and it gets called roughing the passer. It's the first time in history that a roughing the passer has been called, and the ball wasn't even in the passer's hand. What was he supposed to do in that situation? What was he supposed to do in that situation? I'm asking.
Obviously, not hit the quarterback. Obviously,
Yeah, obviously not hit the quarterback.
Yeah, like what do you? It's gone to the point where like you can't even touch the quarterback. If you get close to the quarterback, you're going to be ejected. Like I get that. I get that too.
I'll let
What?
you finish. You want to finish?
Yeah, I get that you had that Tua situation where you had two very uncomfortable looking concussion issues with him, and I think they're at the point right now where they're trying to protect the quarterback. But there comes a point where like you can't baby him. You got to let him play football. He's out on that field because he chose to play football. He didn't choose to go and play tag or whatever. Like he chose to go and play football. If he's going to be on that football field, he's going to take that sack. Now there's obviously a difference. What happened the last with Tom Brady and then what happened to Derek Carr yesterday? Those are two incidents where they shouldn't have even been called. I understand, you take your shoulder and drive him into the ground or whatever. But like those situations where it's a clean sack and they still get called. No, they need to get away with that. They need to stop doing that shit. And because it didn't cost them the game, but it very easily could have. If it wasn't for the other thing that I have a problem with, and that's analytics. Analytics lost the Chiefs the game yesterday. I'm so sick of analytics. I'm so sick of hearing the word analytics. I get that it might work from time to time, but the Chargers have lost several games. And I'm going to the Chargers this time. I'm not mixing the two up. I'm talking about the Chargers on Sunday. They almost lost the game because of analytics. And they've lost several games because of analytics. And, maybe the Raiders yesterday do manage to lose that game. But the thing is that you had a chance to tie that game and you didn't. You went for two and then because you went for two in the hopes that if you make it, that the defense wasn't able to get any stops. So that's the reason that you're going for two instead of trying to kick the extra point to try and have the lead in case they go down and score. Which, by the way, had they drove the field, wouldn't have mattered anyways. They still could have kicked a field goal. And then at the end of the play, you got a 4th and 1. I think it was a 4th and 1. And they decided to air the ball out, go deep with it. You could have, I get that they had no timeouts. You could have ran the ball. You could have probably thrown maybe a little bit of a small little pass, maybe gone out of bounds, or, if you run the ball, you get the first down, you spike the ball really quickly. But no, they didn't do any of that. And analytics lost them the game yesterday. And I'm just sick of that. I'm sick of analytics.
I think there's a couple things to touch on there. Starting with the roughing the passer stuff, it's been a problem for a couple years now. Ever since that Chris Jones sniff of Tom Brady in the playoffs a couple years ago, it's been a problem. Well, but I think recently it's been a problem because of I think a little bit has to be a backlash of the injuries to quarterbacks recently.
If you've noticed, they haven't really called it as much. I think that the Tua situation really wrapped it up. And I get protecting the quarterback, but whenever they clearly got a clean tackle on the guy. No, you can't do that. He's a football player. You can't protect him like that. If you're going to do that, you might as well just put flags around him.
Give him a flag football belt and tell the
everybody else tackle. Everybody else tackle football. Flag football.
I tend to agree.
Give him a mattress.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's been such a movement to being ultra safe and getting away from like actual rules of football, which is frustrating. We need to find a balance of being able to respond to situations that occur and not overdoing it right away out of the gate.
Yeah, and I get protection. As much as I love the sport, we all love the sport. As much as I love the sport, like it's a violent game. I mean, there like some of those hits that I used to ooh and ah at when I was younger, as I am right now. There's times when I have to turn my head, but that's the nature of the game. As long as the guy isn't going head to head with you or intentionally trying to hurt you, then like you just run the risk of getting hurt. That's the unfortunate part of playing this brutal, violent game.
You're playing a tackle sport. Injuries are a risk. You got to accept it.
It's more or less a combat sport where you will probably get hurt, and that's the unfortunate part of it. But you can't just baby these quarterbacks. You can't baby the quarterbacks. Trying to make it safe, I'm all for that. Trying to make it to where you are altering the game because you touched the quarterback, I'm not fine with that.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. There's got to be some way to have a happy medium there. But as far as analytics go, it depends on your thought process. I'm actually a fan of analytics. I'm a big numbers guy. You guys know that. And it's one of those things. It's those that use analytics, they live and die by analytics.
But there should be a balance there. If you see like, I feel like there should be a balance there where you're just like, this works, but maybe we could go this way.
Well, I don't disagree. I think there has to be some sense of game situation there where it's like, hey, the analytics say this, but the whole game has been showing this other tendency. There has to be that discretion of, hey, this is happening. We've got to go against the analytics. But I understand whenever you look at the law of large numbers and sample size, as long as you're sticking to whatever the analytics say, over a larger scale, it's going to work more than it doesn't, based on what the analytics say. If the analytics say go for it, yeah, it may not work 100% of the time, but over a large period of time, if it works 90% or more, then it's like, well, now we know exactly what we've got to do. If you start throwing discretion into that equation, then you have a hard time actually filtering through the analytics, because now it's muddied down with human error or discretion or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like to stay on the side of intangibles, but I don't know. I like numbers, but in certain situations, I would agree that you need to just play the way that the game's going.
You got something to get off your chest, Aiden?
Not really, other than the fact I do have to admit, I think my opinion has changed. I think, and I think a lot of it depends on how this game goes, but, I wouldn't even say that. I do think irrespective of when, it's whenever Dak is healthy, I think he is coming back. I have changed my mind about that. So,
yeah, because you read something. I told you I was right.
Just not read something, just because
I like to think we got Aiden to change his mind. Thank you.
Read
I know for a fact that's not the case, but I like to think it.
What got me, in part, just listening to you guys, but also just watching, I think there's a lot of wisdom in saying that he's done enough. Cooper Rush has, and that's fine. I firmly believe that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I still do. I think that there is wisdom in what y'all both are saying, in the fact that Dak is still the quote-unquote guy, and he will get an opportunity to come back. Whatever happens with it, then they will make a decision going forward. If he's absolutely awful and not ready, then I I tend to believe what Chris is saying, and then they'll put Cooper Rush back in there. But I think, irrespective, regardless, Dak will make another start in the near future, 100%.
I think that
I have changed
think
my,
that
my opinion on that.
yeah, I think that Cooper Rush has been fantastic at not trying to do too much and not trying to force it, and he comes up with a big play in every game that he's played. But I was a little after the Tampa Bay game. I was a little iffy on Dak. He is a $160 million man. I don't think he ever deserved it, but I think he is I do think he's the better quarterback. And if this is the way your defense is going to play, I think it benefits to have him. But the way that Cooper Rush has played, if he does come back and he looks like crap, like I've said, he's you can put him back in. JC.
Yes.
I was finished talking. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that or.
Dak will be back, whether you like it or not. They're paying him
Yep.
too much to let him sit on the bench.
Yep.
We just got to put him in a situation to let him succeed and springboard us forward.
And he has to gain confidence.
Yeah. It's one of those things where he didn't even play long enough in week 1 to gain confidence. So, especially what happened. Like he looked good that first drive in week 1. Then once we start getting hurt offensive linemen, he gets sped up. He doesn't have any success. Well, now his confidence is shot. We've got to get him some easy throws, some easy plays whenever he does come back to gain confidence. And that way, if we can throw a win on top of it, now we're looking good moving forward. We just got to give ourselves a situation for that. Now, I've got something to say. It's completely out of left field. You guys have no idea what I'm about to talk about.
Is it going to irritate us?
I think absolutely not. It's actually about Formula One. I need 1 year where I can enjoy a Max Verstappen championship in peace. For those that aren't aware, over the weekend there was a race in Japan, Suzuka. It was a fascinating race. I couldn't stay awake for it. Stupid rain, but this is his second championship in a row. I need one championship for Max Verstappen that's not surrounded in drama. Obviously, last year you had the whole thing, final lap with Lewis Hamilton, that situation. This year you've got drama of a shortened race. Is he going to have enough points to beat Charles Leclerc? Then you've got Leclerc's 5-second penalty right at the end. For those that don't really follow, basically after a race went awry last year, the FIA, the racing governing body, implemented new rules for shortened races. And what had happened was they started the race, they had gotten 3 laps in, and then they threw the red flag. They had to stop it for a crash and weather and all that stuff. Well, you've only got 3 hours to get the whole race in, and they were delayed long enough where they had to have a timed race for the last 45 minutes to an hour or so. So they weren't getting the full race distance in. Well, so the entire race, the broadcast is talking about how Max is going to get this reduced amount of points based on how many laps they get, yada, yada, yada. And nobody had the clarification of, hey, those reduced point amounts are for when races end under a red flag, not when races restart and finish under normal checkered flag conditions. So it wasn't until after Max had won the race, it wasn't until after Leclerc got his penalty, and they're like in the cool down room about to do the celebration, where they go, hey, by the way, Max is getting full points. He's the world champion. And I'm like, well, shit, this wasn't fun. Because part of the whole thing is hey, that final lap, you got to see Max bring it home. You got to have the pomp and circumstance. You got to hear the radio, Max Verstappen, you are the world champion, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, we got none of that. We just got a heaping lump of confusion, and it pissed me off. So that's my rant. There's got to be better communication from the broadcast, from the FIA, better explanation of rules that say, hey, there's going to be clear communication of, hey, this is what's going on. That's got to be sent out to the teams and the drivers. That's the main thing. Also, there does not need to be a damn tractor on the track when there's still race cars on the track, especially in rainy conditions. We had a driver dive because of that, and we don't need that to happen again. Yeah, so we need to, not this year, that was like 2014 Jules Bianchi, but we don't need that to happen again. And the situation of the race this year was arguably a lot worse than that, even though we didn't have anything go wrong. It's like, dude, it's the same track. The same shit's happening. We can't have that happen. It's a real shame. But you guys know nothing about that. So I'll just rant in peace. But now we get to enjoy the last, 4 races? Because they got to go to, they've got Austin in 2 weeks. They've got Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. So we get to enjoy the last 4 races without real drama. We can watch Max and Red Bull run the bill up. My boys are bringing it home. But until then, y'all have anything else you'd like to add? I think we've just about covered it for today.
You got 2 hours.
Yeah.
But
Man,
James, I just have this for you.
what's that? What do you have for me? Oh, you're just gonna tip the hat to me? Man, don't lose to Iowa State. Don't let us down.
Man, the last time
Yeah,
the last time you said don't lose to somebody, OU gets like I don't even know what's PG appropriate to say on here. Schlacked.
Except this time, I actually predicted an OU loss. So I can't. I'm predicting an OU loss against Kansas. Like I can feel it coming. If we don't,
you're not as confident. But
even with Dylan Gabriel, like Kansas is competent enough this year to kick our ass if we're not careful.
Cool.
Yeah, don't pull a Texas. All right, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Well, thanks for listening in. This was a long one. We had a lot of stuff to filter through. Me and the boys are excited to go to Philly this weekend. We're gonna have a lot of fun there. Hopefully, not get too much stuff thrown at us as Cowboys fans. But thanks again for tuning in. Remember to follow us on Twitter at JCRoutePod. Also, like, comment, subscribe on the video. Let us know what you'd like us to talk through. Let us know if there's any content specific you would like us to cover. But until next time, go boys.
I'm out.
Cry Eagles cry. We'll see y'all later.
That's fine.
I mean, I had to get one in there. We'll see y'all next time.
I've got it.